Why hello intro to video students and welcome to another week's video. We're going to get into one of my favorite weeks of the year, which is special effects. So without further ado, let me cut to a little special effects video I made last December. What is this week's video going to be about? I know. Let's make it a special effects project. Let's go film a time lapse. Alright, this time lapse is gonna be epic. I'm gonna shoot some footage from the car. I'm gonna go to that pedestrian bridge. I can't wait, but hold on. It's pretty cold. I think I need a jacket. Yeah, that's better. Alright, let's go make a movie. Did I forget anything? Nope, I'm good. Alright, so there you go, Adventures in Time Lapse. You can see that that was a fun little special effects video that I put together, and I want to challenge you to make a fun special effects video as well. So for this week's goals, what you're going to do is you're going to learn different special effects techniques. So you're going to film a special effects project that uses slow motion, time lapse, and the vanish and appear effect, right? So all of these effects you're going to be able to pull off by using WeVideo. And I'll demonstrate a couple of those techniques in just a minute here. And after you do that, you are going to upload your video to your Google Drive folder. You're going to attach it to this assignment and you're going to hand it in. And I'm going to give you 2 weeks to do it instead of 1. And the reason for that is next week we have 6th graders that are going to be doing outdoor school. So I have a few 6th grade students that are in Intro to Video, and I don't want to assign any new work for them because they're going to be really busy. So I suggest working on it this week, but you have until May 16th in order to finish the special effects. So I really want to see some cool creative projects. These aren't for Heron TV. We might use some of them just to demonstrate that we make cool projects in this class. But unless someone really wants their project to be on Heron TV, if you make an amazing special effects project, maybe we'll feature that. But this is not like the joke of the day where we're trying to get content. Also, I see a lot of people have been putting comments on saying that they don't want their joke of the day used on Heron TV, and that's totally fine. Just leave a comment. Even if I don't respond, I just look at those so that I know which ones I can use and which ones I can't use. I really encourage you to let your video be on Heron TV though, because it's a great way to build community by showing off the fun things that we do in this class. And I think people really appreciate it. So I encourage you to step out of your comfort zone and give it a shot. Okay, so that being said, let's jump back to the video. You're gonna see it's a video that I made in December. So let's take a look at that video. Don't forget to take the secret word quiz this week, as always. And I'm gonna be trying to get caught up on grading over the next 2 weeks. So just make sure you've got all your assignments turned in, and as soon as I can get to them, I will be posting them into the grade book. So let's jump into the video. Okay, so the first of the 4 effects that we're gonna cover is time lapse. So here's a time-lapse video that I made a few years ago just while driving home from spring break. So when you're filming time-lapse footage, look for objects that appear to have a great change over time. So cars, clouds, waves, etc. can all look interesting in a time-lapse. Just have patience, because usually a time-lapse is just 1 or 2 frames per second, and then when you play that back at real time, it's 25 times fast, 50 times fast, something like that. And so if you record out of a car window, for a minute, plan on that only making a few seconds of footage. So each time that every clip here is about a minute of me holding my camera very steady so I can film. And the more you can see in a shot, the better. If you film out of the side window, you don't always get the same effect that you would if you go out the front window of the car where you can see more things happening and give it time to unfold. So time-lapse can be a lot of fun. I know a lot of phones have that as an option. In my example, I shot it with both my phone and with a GoPro. I even have time-lapse on my DSLRs that I use. But since I was filming myself, how to use those, and we'll cut to that in just a second so you can learn all about how to do time-lapse. Woo! I am glad I brought my jacket. So here I am on top of a pedestrian bridge in Oregon City right by Willamette Falls. And what I'm doing is recording a time-lapse with a GoPro. So what I did is I just set it up and I'm just leaving it so I can get footage for a long time. Now, cars look great in a time-lapse because there's gonna see a lot of change over time. So I'm just gonna let that go for 5-10 minutes and I'll see what I come up with. I'm also doing the same thing with my phone. So if you don't have a GoPro, iPhones, and I imagine Android phones do too, have a time-lapse feature. So let me show you what that looks like. So here I just have my cell phone propped up on my cell phone tripod, but it would work from a coffee cup tripod along the side of the road, whatever you want to do for that. And I'm just going to record the footage of the highway. You can see the cars are going by really slowly, but then when it plays back in fast motion, it looks great. And then I added a little bit of panning and zooming to give it a little bit more interest. So that's how you record a time-lapse. Okay, so in addition to time-lapse, we also have slow motion. And slow motion is really important that you adjust your frame rate before you just slow something down. Because normal video has a frame rate of 24 to 30 frames per second. So this example here of me on a skateboard was filmed at 120 frames per second, just filmed using my iPhone, and then it automatically slows it down. So you're still getting a normal frame rate, but it looks like it's in slow motion. So if you were to just slow this down from a normal footage, it would look really choppy. But because there are additional frames as you slow it down, it looks pretty good. So let me explain how different frame rates affect your slow motion with this example of me juggling some golf balls. Okay, so when you're recording in slow motion, you gotta think about your frame rate. Right now, this camera that I'm using is recording at 24 frames per second. In normal speed, that motion looks fine. In fact, 24 frames per second gives you the most natural look that the human eye sees. So in real time, it might look like this. However, if I want to slow that down and I'm filming at 24 frames per second, if I make this half speed, it's only 12 frames per second. Let's see how that looks. So when you want to slow things down, you have to go to a higher frame rate. On my DSLR, I can go as high as 60 frames per second, and let me show you what that looks like. I'm now going to be filming at 60 frames per second. So if you look at this in real time, it doesn't have a normal amount of motion blur. It's almost too crisp. But if I'm planning on slowing this down to 50%, let's see how that looks. So 60 frames per second at half speed is really 30 frames per second, which looks very similar to 24, and it's a very natural look. If I want to go any slower than 60 frames per second and want to slow things into maybe 25% or even slower than that, I need to go up to a frame rate such as 120 or 240 frames per second. Now, I can't do that on my DSLR. That's a very expensive feature. However, you can do that on a cell phone. So on my iPhone, I'm going to shoot at both 120 frames per second and at 240 frames per second. And I want you to notice the difference for how each shot looks. This first example you're going to see in slow motion is done at 120 frames per second. So if I want to slow that down significantly, it'll still look great. Now let's take a look at what it's going to look at 240 frames per second. When I want to switch to 240 frames per second on my iPhone 11, I have to use the rear-facing camera. So hopefully it's framed up okay. So those are your 4 different frame rates that you can try filming in. Depending on what camera you have, it's going to be a little bit different. So test that out and see how you can use slow motion in your special effects project.
All right, the vanish and appear effect. You've probably seen me do this in lots of videos. If I ever want to change locations from one place to another, I might snap my fingers or add some different effects. Sometimes I jump and spin. But real basically, to pull off this effect, what you need to do is film an actor or a subject somewhere and then remove them and keep filming the scene. So in this video here, I'm sitting on the couch and then I'm going to walk away from the shot, but I'm going to continue filming the couch. Then what I do is I cut to myself just appearing, and magically, it just looks like I've just shown up. It helps to sell the effect by jumping into a shot or snapping or doing something like that. You can add some sound effects to it too, but the vanish appear is a really fun way to pull off these sorts of shots. Just make sure to keep your camera super still. So watch this tutorial and see how you can vanish and appear in your video.
So for this one, it's really easy. All you have to do is keep your camera very steady. So make sure to use some sort of stabilization device. Maybe that coffee cup tripod you used, but it's got to be perfectly still for this effect to work. Now, all I'm going to do is I'm going to film this couch without me on it, and then I'm going to appear. Now, when I appear, I'm going to act like I just showed up. Okay? So let me demonstrate. And then if I want to vanish, all I have to do is just go away. But usually adding some sort of effect works nicely. So maybe I'll snap. When I go to edit that, I have just appeared. Now you can do all sorts of things like that. You could... This can work with all sorts of things. So you could just have like a hat appear or something. You just need to make sure you're perfectly still. So all of a sudden be in one motion. Right. Scooter, you made it! Hi, buddy! So, or you can do a close change. Let's see if he stays perfectly still. Now, and if anything in the background changes, the shot's going to look weird. See how you can just magically edit all those in? It's all just by having a cut with making sure everything else in the background has changed, even your lighting. So when I go to edit this, this might look a little weird. And see, now that the dog's moving, I can't use this part of the shot if I wanted to cut anything away. But now that he's still, and that is how you do the vanish and appear. Hey everybody, the secret word this week is sunrise, because if you get up early enough, you can capture some really cool pictures. So enjoy the time-lapse video at the end, and remember, your secret word is sunrise. So there it is, sun's coming up. Sunrise, it's the secret word.
Okay, some other great things you can do to your video is add some music. So bensound.com, I'll show you that, is a great place to find music, and so is the YouTube Creator Studio. Let me show you what bensound looks like. All you have to do is go and to bensound.com. There are all sorts of songs. You could test them out by playing them. All right, if you're looking for a really dramatic song, in fact, that was a song that was used in a video that I showed, I think, last week to you guys, so maybe you recognize that song. But at any rate, if you find something you like, you click download, and then it is free with license attribution. That means that when you post this video anywhere, you have to share the link. You can just share the link with me, or just put that in the titles of your video that says music from Bensounds, because we want to give credit for this free stuff. They also have music that you can pay for, but I imagine no one wants to buy any music for a project. So there you go. You have this the song downloaded to your downloads, and then you can just add it into your video editing software. So that's a really cool option. There are some other cool places to find music. Purple Planet has music. The Free Music Archive has stuff you can use. And Sound Bible's great if you're just looking for sound effects. Also, speaking of sound effects, there's this great video here called The Magic of Making Sound. I highly recommend checking it out. It is a mini documentary about Foley artists. Those are sound engineers that record sound effects to go along with video. Because a lot of times when we film something, the sound doesn't get captured in a way that is really compelling for telling a story. So by recreating sounds that match that is what's done in almost all professional productions. And it's really neat to see some of the different objects they use to create the effects. It's pretty magical, just like our special effects are. So there you go. All right, and just a quick review. Last week we learned those 3 in-camera transitions. Go ahead and try them again if you want to. You don't have to, but that's why I showed you these transitions, because they can work well in all sorts of projects, not just jokes of the day. So maybe try a walk into the frame, a cover reveal, or a whip pan. Any of those. If you find other transitions too, that would be great. We could have a little transition challenge to show off to each other. So cool. All right, so I want to give you a quick walkthrough on how you're going to make some edits using WeVideo. So make sure you're logged into WeVideo. That's super important in order to be able to do all these effects. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to import some footage. And I have a regular video and a slow motion video that I'm going to show you. So let me go ahead and import these right now. So I'm going to hit the import button, and I can drag and drop. So I am dragging and dropping 2 different pieces of footage. They're going to take a moment to get loaded up. So I will let those start doing their thing. And then, actually, they're already ready to go. So this was the first clip that I'm going to show you, and this was filmed in slow motion. I was just filming my golf swing just so that I could see how it works. And this is going to be at either 120 or 240 frames per second. I can't remember. Now, you'll notice that it does have the black bars on either side. So I didn't film this in order to be edited, but it's the most recent slow motion that I had on my iPhone. So I went ahead and shared this with it. So I'm going to go ahead and crop this footage. So I will double click on it. And then now when I come into the crop tool, which is the second tab over, I can leave the horizontal fine, but I'm going to bring the vertical down, and I'm going to bring the bottom up, so that now it's going to start to fill the screen a little bit better. And then I hit, do I hit done? I think I do. Oh, it's just hidden on the scene. So I hit save changes, and now it's going to be cropped like that. Now I can double click again, and I'm going to go into the transform tab, which is the first on the left, and I can scale it to fit the screen. So it's going to look a little bit better when you see it that way. Notice that it does start to look a little pixelated because I'm cropped in on it. So I would have been better off had I planned on editing this. Now, slow motion is very slow, so just the time of me setting up the ball here is going to take quite a while. So I'm going to fast forward to where I'm actually going to be hitting the golf ball. We're coming close to it. And then I'm going to hit the scissors and get rid of the beginning part. And then now, when I want to use some slow motion in my video, I've got this here, which is still very slow. You can see, but remember, since I'm at a higher frame rate, I'm going to be able to, the video still looks smooth. It would look really choppy, and I'll show you that example in just a second here as I go with regular footage. So I don't even swing until then, so I'm just going to go ahead and delete all to here, slide this back, see how this looks now, getting ready to swing. And there we go. All right, so that's me hitting a golf ball. Look at that amazing form. Wasn't a bad shot. So there we go. So that's all I need to do. I'm going to cut this. That's how you would include some slow motion footage. So get creative on what you think is going to look great in slow motion. Now, time-lapse footage looks great when you just record it in time-lapse mode, but you can also speed up any footage that you want. I have other footage. Oh, here we go. It's finally in. So here's me playing golf for a few minutes. Similar shot as before. And what would happen when I play this? You can see it's just me hitting golf balls, so I can look at my swing and work on it. Now, hey, let me show you what it would look like if I wanted to speed this up and make it a time-lapse, right? So I could go into the speedometer button, the one at the end, and I could just make the value be faster, right? So now this is at 4 times fast. This is at 8 times fast. Let me hit save changes, and you'll see that this is now a very quick video as I go through, right? So this is how you could make time-lapse just by speeding it up, and you can see yourself. So pretty easy to do. It does take up a fair amount of footage because this is a 2-minute clip that is trimmed down, but you can see that works just fine for doing time-lapse. So, but If you take a time-lapse footage that you record on your phone directly, you can upload that. It'll already be in a faster motion and can look really great too. The final effect that I'll show you, it's still processing right now, is the vanish appears.
All right, so this is how you're gonna do the vanish appear, right? So all you would do is you would record some video, snap your fingers, and then you're gonna get out of the shot, right? And then if you wanted to appear again, you would just come and film yourself in here. And I'm gonna snap again, and now I've just appeared. So let's see what that's gonna look like when I edit.
Here's my video. Let's see what I filmed so far. Yeah. I could probably trim. All right, so this is how you're gonna do the vanish appear, right? So all you would do is you would record some video, and then I would cut right when I snapped, right? And then I'm gonna play my video. And then you're gonna get out of the shot. Right? And once I'm out of the shot, I can pause it again. I'm gonna cut, and this middle section can then be removed. So now it's, you slide them together, and will look like this. We'd record some video, and then if you wanted to appear again, you would just come and film yourself in here. And I'm going to snap again. Right when I snap, bam, cut. Now I want to show some of this chair empty. You would just come and film yourself in here. But before I'm in there, right? So I might have to. If you wanted to appear again, you would just come. See, I could stop it. I could cut it. Cut. Remove. So now it'll go. And now I've just appeared. So let's see it. Oops, that looked a little weird. Play it through. All right, so this is how you're going to do the vanish appear, right? So all you would do is you would record some video. And then if you wanted to appear again, you would just. And now I've just appeared. So let's see what that's going to. All right, so you notice that worked just fine, and because the camera never moved. So just record it as one clip. That's probably the easiest way to do it. Then hop out of the shot. If you go to another location, just make sure you appear about in the same part of the frame. You just have to experiment with this. This is a really fun effect. In fact, I started doing this effect when I was in middle school, maybe 8th grade. We used to make skate videos. And we would do this on VHS tape, where we would just stop the tape, and then we'd go and set up somewhere else. A little bit trickier to do on tape when you couldn't come back and make the edits, but it's kind of an old-fashioned effect that is a lot of fun to do. So those are your 3 effects.
All right, so there you have it. Hope you enjoyed learning about those special effects. You are going to be taking your TikTok game up a notch. That's right, we've got slow motion, vanish. Make sure you hold that camera super still. Don't move it when you're doing vanish and appear, otherwise it kind of blows the effect. Time lapse, so good luck with that. Don't forget to hand in that video, and you have until the 16th. Never stop creating. See you in the next video.